Thursday night football. The Denver Broncos are on the road to take on the Los Angeles Chargers, an AFC West battle. In this video, I have two player props, as well as who I think wins and covers in this game, as well as a lean on the over-under. If you are new, my name is Austin from Calling Our Shot. I begin the video addressing the elephant in the room, and that has been my performance this NFL season. I'm not asking for some sympathy in the comments. I have to address how bad I was last week. It was my worst week I've ever had. I went 5-12 overall, down over 7 units, and I've now dropped into the negatives on the season. Look, I understand I've had a lot of bad reads in here, some bad luck, but let's be honest. My performance this season has not been great. Last year wasn't the best either. We still turned it around, finished a positive season last year, and we're going to do our best to try to turn that thing around. And it starts hopefully with a 2-0 Thursday night football game. I don't want any sympathy. I just need to be better. And let's dive into Thursday's picks. I got nothing to promote. Just like and subscribe if you want to. Comment your best bets down below. Let's dive into my first player prop, and that is Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos over 59.5 receiving yards, minus 125 on Bet365. Obviously, you can take this depending on what book you're on. They have a 60-plus receiving yards line. I also like him up to about 64, 65.5. Now, the Denver Broncos, I'm going to first start about how I feel this game goes, because I feel like that will dictate kind of where I see the Broncos having success, and that's probably throwing the football. And last week, we got to talk about the Chargers defense. They sucked. They allowed 40 points. And while you can point to a lot of different things and say Baker Mayfield threw 4 touchdowns, blah, 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 the problem started on the ground. 223 rushing yards allowed, 5.7 yards per carry. I put a stat down there. Teams are 2-28 this season when allowing 200 or more rush yards. Obviously, Baker Mayfield had a big day. Mike Evans did too. But the problem started on the ground when they couldn't stop the run. It led to a lot of, hey, we have to load the box. And that's where Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, and the Baker Mayfield-led passing attack for the Buccaneers had a lot of success. So if I'm the Chargers and I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm coming in here trying to make sure we stop the run. Now, good for them is that the Broncos' rushing attack is not very good. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, 3 guys that they have no idea what they're doing in the running back room. And instead, I think we're going to have to see them stop the run, Chargers stop the run, and force the Broncos to pass. Because we've seen Bo Nix struggle against some safety looks, and that is what the Chargers run a lot of. But I think when they're throwing it, where's he going with the ball? It's Courtland Sutton. If you look on the screen, this is Courtland Sutton over his last 10 games. And specifically narrowing it to the last 7, you've seen him go over in 6 of the last 7. Now, last week, you see only 32 yards. There's 3 receptions on 9 targets. He had 133 air yards. Do air yards get us anything? No. Now you could argue he could have made a play in the end zone. He did catch a touchdown late in that game, but he had probably like a 40-yard deep ball that was a one-on-one. Bo Nix gave him a chance. He just got his hands on it, didn't haul it in. Would have been a nice catch, let's be honest. But Sutton and Nix, I expect him to be on a better page here. Last week, I think he threw 2 interceptions targeting Sutton. He also had a bad throw. Sutton ran a curl route on like a 3rd and 10. Terrible throw. He would have been an easy 10-15 yards, but he kind of skipped it to him. Look, I think he has a better week. I like Sutton's over in receptions, but I like the yards a little bit more. But his receptions line's in at 5.5. 5+ is like minus 160. 4+ is about minus 350. So they're really confident, the books are, that he gets at least 4 receptions. And if you look on the screen, Sutton, 60+ receiving yards in 7 of 9 this year when he has that many receptions, 5 of 8 last year, and 22 of his last 30. So again, when he's getting 4 receptions, obviously some yards are going to come with it. We know Sutton is kind of a big play guy, but doesn't necessarily need big plays. He can get 10, 15-yard chunks left and right. And I just don't trust a lot of guys in this passing room for this Broncos offense. So next is going to look for Sutton. He's their number 1 guy. I don't expect any doubles to come his way. And the Chargers defense, they're pretty good normally at limiting points, but they have been struggling a little bit to wide receivers since week 8. 13 wide receivers have 4 receptions versus them. 11 of the 13 had 60 yards. The only 2 guys that went under were actually 2 Kansas City Chiefs, DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy. So I think here, you saw last time these 2 teams played, you saw him only have 53 yards. It kind of felt like Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton weren't on really the same page. You're seeing 8, 9, 10 targets every single week going to Sutton. I don't see them having a lot of success on the ground. They're going to have to throw it. And I think we could see Sutton approach 6, 7 receptions here, and I think he easily gets to 60 yards. So my first play is Courtland Sutton's over in receiving yards. You can certainly fade it if you want, but I really like Courtland Sutton in this game. Before I dive into another player prop and my spread pick and things like that, I do want to talk about Sleeper. They've changed their offer a couple times the last few months. Now, right now, they're giving one of the best offers, I think, for you guys out there. Right now, if you play $5 on their app, you get $55 in bonuses. So, hey, that's a pretty good offer. You don't even have to deposit a ton. Just $5, and you get an extra $55. Kind of throw in some long shots or throw in some safer plays. They have alternate lines and everything like that. The way you get that is use code COS. You'll also, with that code COS or the link at the top of the description, they'll match your first deposit up to, well, they'll give you that, and they'll give you this Justin Herbert free square. So they'll give you the 55, bet 5, you get 55, but also a Justin Herbert free square to throw into different things. Heck, you could throw it in that $5 entry that they want you to do to get those $55. So hey, I encourage you to check that out, code COS or the link down below. My last note before we dive into another thing, we did post a video earlier this week on Wednesday, earlier today when I'm posting this video. It was us going through every single game on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I know my NFL record in terms of these videos, in terms of how my props have done, not great. However, I've been actually pretty good on betting sides and totals. I just don't track those typically towards my record here because I'm normally not that good. So, hey, you can go check that out. I've been pretty good, pretty dialed into how I think games are going. I don't know why that hasn't translated to prop success, but either way, I'll link that video at the end of this one and down below somewhere, probably in the pinned comment. But let's get into another player prop I like. And I really like both passing games, and I'm going to Justin Herbert of the Chargers, obviously, over 31.5 passing attempts, minus 120 on FanDuel. Now, Herbert enters this game with a little bit of an injury with an ankle. Yeah, I obviously expect him to suit up. If he doesn't suit up, which I'd put at like a 1% chance, then you can just skip forward to how I feel about the spread or the total. But he should be out there, and I don't expect him to be scrambling a lot with that ankle injury. Hopefully he's just throwing it away if that's the case, because that counts as a pass attempt. Obviously, doesn't help us sustain drives to get multiple pass attempts on a drive, but hey, we'll take that. We don't need Herbert to go 100% completion here. Since week 5, I'll put Herbert's numbers up on the screen. He's over this line in 6 of his last 10, including 34 versus Denver. Now, in that game against Denver, Herbert, 26 pass attempts in the first half, only 8 in the second half. What happened? Well, they led 20-0. He only had 4 completions in the second half. They basically just chewed the clock. They really sucked, honestly, in the second half. They blew a 20-0 lead, and it became a 23-16 final. Wasn't really ever in contention in terms of they were going to win it or not. They really didn't cut the lead to 7 until 1 minute left. But in that game, the Chargers had 38 rushing attempts. Look, I don't know if you've watched the Chargers recently, but with J.K. Dobbins down, who had 25 of those rush attempts in that week 5 game, Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal, it has been a disaster class. Those guys can't seem to average more than 3 or 4 yards per carry, and this doesn't feel like a matchup they're going to suddenly figure it out. But what I do like about Denver is, as we've talked about with Courtland Sutton, their offense is not the most efficient. They aren't very good at sustaining long drives, and so we see them give up a lot of plays. In fact, Denver allows the 4th most opponent plays per game at around 65 per game, while additionally allowing the 7th lowest completion percentage. Obviously, we want Justin Herbert to complete some passes. We can't afford the Chargers going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's not going to help us. But again, we also don't want Justin Herbert to have the most efficient game ever. So we could see some incompletions here, but still completing things when when everything's on the line on 3rd down. But again, giving up 65 plays per game, if we even get close to 60, I feel like there's going to be a lot of pass attempts in there. And I do expect the Broncos defense to be a little bit worse on the road like we normally see. Since week 7, the Broncos, 4th fewest rush yards per game, 4th fewest yards per attempt. So again, a really stout rushing defense. And additionally, since week 7, most pass attempts allowed in the NFL at 39. So they are giving up a lot of pass attempts, but not a lot of rushing yards. Great for us. And here's a list of all the QBs since week 3 that have faced the Denver Broncos. You see a list of them. We start all the way at the bottom. Baker had 33. Aaron Rodgers had 44 pass attempts. The Raiders combined had 37 because they had injuries there. Then Herbert himself had 34. Saints QBs, again, an injury in there, 39. Lamar was the only guy really on here that had 19. The Falcons couldn't do anything. They only had 31, finishing on the hook. But again, all these guys are pretty much soaring over this line against the Broncos. While I'll talk about who I lean on the spread at total. I just don't see this Chargers offense having a lot of success on the ground. I don't see them having a lot of success throwing deep balls, especially given Herbert's injury status. So I expect a lot of short throws here, getting the ball out of Herbert's hands. Don't let the pass rush get to you. The Denver Broncos are pretty good at getting pressure. So a lot of quick throws here. Sure, we might see a lot of completions, but I see a lot of pass attempts here even more. So I really like his over 31.5 pass attempts. Also like the completions, but I'd rather go with the pass attempts. I feel like it's a little bit safer, especially given Herbert's injury. Could be throwing it away if he gets in pressure, just throwing it into someone at the ground. I think that's a much better play. So I'll take the over in pass attempts for 1 unit. Now I need to talk about who I think wins and covers in this game. I have 2 leans. This week, I'm going to probably track some game picks towards the record because my only winner on Monday Night Football was actually my only game pick there. I don't love either of these, but if I had to bet anything, I would lean the Chargers minus 2.5. I do like the under 42.5. Now, are either of them ones that I'm going to put my own money on? Probably not. I do like the Chargers. I think they bounce back. They've been one of the best scoring defenses in the NFL. But and coming off a 40-point burger, giving up 40 points, that's just bad football. I think they play better. I like Harbaugh as a coach, obviously a guy that can motivate his defense to show up. if their rushing attack was a little bit more consistent, I'd be a little bit happier and more confident in them. The Broncos, we've seen Bo Nix. He's threw 3 interceptions last week. He did not look great. Hasn't looked great really the last 2 weeks. They did win against the Browns a few weeks ago before their bye week. I lean the Chargers here, bouncing back after a home loss. I think they play better here. I like betting home teams at home on a short week. I lean them. Not my most confident play. Wouldn't shock me if the Broncos won. Kind of more of a coin flip, if I'm going to be honest. As for the under, I just see this game being a lot of field goals. We think about the 2 rushing attacks. When you get in the red zone, the teams that score points are putting up touchdowns. A lot of them are coming on the ground. These 2 rushing attacks don't have any consistency. As I've already talked, the Broncos, they don't know what the hell they're doing. The Chargers know what they're doing with Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal. They have the 2 guys. They just aren't good. And it's a tough spot to run. So if you're going to see points, you're probably going to need the passing touchdowns. Both guys have a pass touchdowns line at 1.5, but it's like plus 110 for Herbert and like plus 145 for Bo Nix. So they're not expecting a lot of pass touchdowns. I don't know. I don't know where you're getting it. Herbert threw an interception last week. I don't think he throws one here. Nix was throwing them left and right. The Colts also had a couple turnovers in there. So I think this is a lower scoring game. I still love our 2 props. I just think this is more field goals. And you can still have a lot of yards, but if you aren't converting in the red zone, I think you see some field goals here. And the Chargers defense obviously will be better. So if I had to bet either of them, I'd probably lean the under a little bit more. But as for my favorite picks of the game, we have Courtland Sutton's over in yards, and we have Justin Herbert's over in pass attempts. I like Herbert at 32.5 for what it's worth. But those are my favorite picks. Let's try to bounce back. I know it's been a disappointing year. Vibes are low. But hey, we're going to bounce back here. We're going to go 2-0 tonight and hopefully continue that momentum into Saturday's NFL Fit Picks and then into Sunday as well, and then Monday Night Football. So appreciate you guys for tuning in over the next week or so, next 10 days. Probably starting on Saturday. Videos might be a little bit different because I'll be on the road. We'll figure that out then. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me. Let's go 2-0 on Thursday Night Football. I'll see you guys back again in some other videos every single day. And our NBA video should be live sometime this Thursday morning. I'll link that here. And then we'll also have day 2 of the Ladder Challenge live later on today, later on Thursday. That'll be in the NBA. I ain't touching the NFL with the ladder. It's just been bad vibes. But appreciate you guys again. Thanks for tuning in. It's Austin signing out. Peace.